All right, what's up, folks? That's right, it's your boy DJ Elf 7 coming live and direct. Anyways, I have a very special guest today. I'm actually quite interested in his program. I'm a fan myself, but I'll let him introduce himself. Go ahead.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me, DJ L7. I really appreciate it. My name's Stephen Phillips. I'm out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I run a grassroots news organization called newsforus.world, and we also run a website called politicallyincorrectness.com, which is dedicated to the coverage and exposure of the school board corruption here in Las Vegas. So, and do a lot of advocacy work as well. I'm an advocate for constitutional law, common law, and I'm also an advocate for CPS and family court corruption victims as well, and victims of medical corruption.
So, what's the first thing that kind of got you started in the whole activism, field? Was there one
Um,
issue that kind of brought you to the table, or?
well, one of the big ones for me was in around 2012, the National Defense Authorization Act, when sections 1031 and 1032, where they were trying to put into place, where it said they can indefinitely detain a U.S. citizen without trial if they declare them an enemy combatant. And so I started doing a lot of real grassroots work then with people against the NDAA, which was at one point pandaunite.org, and also I did a
Quick
map
question:
system, some
what is
advocacy work for them.
NDAA?
National Defense Authorization Act.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, so there was a clause in the 2012 version of that where they were trying to sneak in that clause about indefinitely being able to detain a citizen under the guise of calling them a terrorist or domestic terrorist, which is, as we know, is and originally the original thing that was passed that enabled that to be where it was then was the Patriot Act. And then look at where we're at now. And this is just another extension of what happened then and what I was fighting then, but now it's gotten off the rails basically. But that's when I got started. I've been doing a lot of this kind of work been trying to expose corruption for many, many years, but I really got started recently with this project, the News for Us, which was actually directly inspired by the work I did for pandaunite.org and Solutions Institute, which Dan Johnson was the founder of those, and he actually came to bat for me a couple times in a couple of circumstances. So I owe him a great debt of gratitude.
One day we'd like to have him on the show. He sounds like an interesting person.
Yeah, that would be great. He actually just had his first kid like last year and has been doing the family thing. But I'll definitely reach out to him. I'd love for him to jump on with us. That would be great.
That would be cool. Yeah. All right. So the thing is, some people they have a certain ideology that shapes their activism, like maybe capitalism, socialism, or anything like that, right? Maybe sometimes it's something different, right? Sometimes environmentalism. Is there any I would say type of ideology that kind of shapes your
Yeah.
thought process? Go ahead.
What really resonates with me and has always resonated with me was the whole anonymous movement. That was back then was like actually I started getting involved in that back in like after the whole Arab Spring and the Occupy Wall Street thing happened. That inspired me to become involved, and so I kind of became in that movement. And that's a big portion, a big motivation is I want to expose the corruption globally. I want everybody to be free. I want everybody to know the truth, and that's what I'm really fighting for ultimately, is for the freedom of all humanity. That's what I believe, and I believe that every human being has a right to freedom, life, liberty, and prosperity, and informed consent, among other things. And people have a right to know.
That's pretty cool, man. So you have some computer skills, hopefully.
Oh, most definitely,
Oh,
most
that's cool.
definitely.
All right, that's definitely could use those skills on board. Yeah, got some
Oh
cool
yeah.
projects we got coming out. Actually, yeah. All right.
I actually my main field of expertise is information technology. I'm an independent contractor in the IT field, and I also specialize in cybersecurity, folks.
Oh wait, actually, you showed me a Minesweeper game you made, right, or something like that. Was it
Um,
Minesweeper?
Oh no! It was so, no, it was that's funny. It was actually a game I did for a client a couple years back called iBong. It was a cannabis-based bingo game called iBong, and it was really cool. But
Oh,
that's what I was showing you. Yeah, yeah. I could see why it might remind you of Minesweeper because it does kind of look like that, doesn't
or
it?
Go or something. I don't even know. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah,
busy doing
yeah.
this activist stuff. I'm so locked
Oh
in my own lane. But it's
man, I've
great
been
to
so
learn
busy
about other
too.
stuff. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm always here to help anytime, buddy.
It's great, man. I love it. Yeah. Okay, so now the thing is that also sometimes people are also inspired by certain figures. Like I guess you would see in a lot of my work, you'll see Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and it makes sense because I'm an American activist. I learned
Right.
about I didn't learn so much about activism in other countries. Not that I'm against that or anything, but just that's natural, right? But are there any inspirations for your own activism?
Um, The big motivation right now for me is what happened to my mother. She was injured by the first Pfizer jab. And so that really, really affected me and really is one of the biggest driving forces for me to fight this fight and has really, really given me the focus and the drive to keep pushing forward despite all the interference and attacks that me and my team have received. But that's what initially started it was covering the medical fraud and the COVID fraud issue. And then it's kind of segued into the CPS family court corruption. And I'm also now covering the school boards as well. But all these issues are very important to me because they're all related. They're all systemic of the same kind of corruption.
Yeah, we need to have a lot of transparency and review is not going on, and it's absolutely essential in all
Absolutely.
spaces. Yeah.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
So I like that. Okay. So the thing is that as you've that kind of like helps us to understand you as a person. Now I'd say out of all the things that you've done, what are you most proud of accomplishing?
Wow, if you had asked me that a year ago,
Yeah.
I would have probably said some of my code work or my IT work. But
Okay.
if you now asking me now and after okay, so let me tell you a true story. This kind of relates to Dan Johnson, who I had told you about briefly. You asked if we could get him on the show. When I had spoken with him last year after I had told him that I had started this grassroots news organization and that the work I did for him was a direct inspiration to that. Um, he asked me what were my goals for this year for the year of 2022 because this is about a year ago actually. And at the time, I had told him, well, to expose the COVID corruption and the COVID fraud going on, expose the Ukraine narrative, and then expose the school boards and the CPS family court corruption. And I've accomplished all three this year, which is for me is unheard of. I never have I ever set that many goals, and I not only accomplished all of them, I actually accomplished an extra one on top of that, which is just covering the school board issues that I hadn't initially had put in that statement. And I was like, wow. So at this point, that's probably the thing that I'm the most proud of right now.
That's amazing. I like that. Yeah. All right. So now
Yes.
the thing is that being an activist, what do you think are the most effective thing that activists can do?
Speak the truth and call shit out. Um, when shit don't feel right or doesn't add up, you call it out, regardless of the blowback. You got to call that shit out and call it out when you see it. And I think speaking out and calling shit like you see it, especially if you can see how obvious it's obviously a lie, you can help others that may not be able to discern such statements that to you may be obvious. I think that's the best thing we can do is speak out and start becoming proactive and reaching more people and teaching people to think critically. That's some key things I think.
Right. Now you may have worked with different groups, right? Um, and some of those groups are probably better than others. What
Right.
are some of the
I've
things?
worked with many. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you think that are the best practices? Sometimes, like someone joins a group and they're like, "Oh, is this group really working towards the ends that I thought that it should be?" Or they're having difficulty getting heard. What are
Mhm.
some of the best practices that you think that organizations can do?
Well, I found that a lot of the groups that are advocacy groups that don't make money doing this, that they do this on a volunteer basis. I found that those groups are primarily really really good at being about the cause and about the purpose and the mission of being and adhering to those. Now, you don't get me wrong, there are people that even doing the work that I do because that's kind of how we started our me and my team working together. Jen, Angie, and Jessica, and we encountered our fair share of trolls and people trying to infiltrate our group, and even had somebody try to hijack our stuff. Somebody that was close to us that I thought I could trust, that somebody I would have taken a bullet for, and so even in that, there's not. You still have to look out for that. But that's one of the benefits of having a pro bono or volunteer only movement is that you can more easily distinguish the bullshit from the real people, basically.
Yeah, I like
But I've
that.
also noticed
All
that
right.
there's some other groups out there too. If they have that may have there's a nonprofit out of I believe it's California or no, I'm not sure if it's California. Yeah, I think it's California. It's a I can't remember the name of it. Forgive me. I did an interview with Vicky Bailey back last April about her CPS family court corruption story. She had on someone that is the CEO of this nonprofit who's actually really advocating and helping military veterans who have been affected by the CPS corruption. And so I got a lot of respect for the work he's doing, and he's done. I mean, just from what I've been able to find, I mean, I really really admire that. So there are some good groups there doing some good work too that are adhering to their ethical standards, and that's I got nothing but respect for that, and I admire those groups as well.
Okay, that's cool. All right. So let's take a look at the what are some of the things that since you started till like now, right? You've been an activist for a while. You've gotten to see
Mhm.
different things. Has your perspective changed in some way? And if so, like like if you could look back and tell yourself, like back when you first started, like something, what would you say?
Yeah, I'd have to say I knew there was corruption. I knew there was bad corruption. I never knew how bad it stemmed, though. Like I knew there was corruption. I always knew there was a certain level of corruption. But from what I have uncovered just in like the last year, covering these issues, it's so much more. It really is so much deeper than most people realize. And if I had to go back and tell my younger self, I would have said, "Hey, it's a lot more systemic than you realize. So heads up." Because even I was surprised at the level of corruption that I am seeing, and I'm seeing it go from all the way to the local level, all the way to the top, just from some of the coverage I've done just this year alone. And it's like, wow, that means that's a huge problem. That explains a lot, though, of what our country's going through right now, too. Why we have a lot of the issues that we have, I think, as well. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So, what do you think about like the current state of things?
Oh man, that's definitely interesting to say the least. I see a lot of stuff going on, but I also see with the level of how far out there the mainstream is getting even more and more absurd with their narratives, and how more and more obviously people are waking up to the fact that it's just blatant lies. Obviously, I mean, it's not hard to really discern at this point because they're just being so obvious. I'm on one hand, I'm almost convinced that this is all part of a plan just because I don't think they would ever really destroy their own credibility on that level to that absurdity and have it be so obvious. They've never done that historically. So something else has changed. Something's different. And I don't know what it is, but it feels like to me, it looks like their hand is being forced. Whether directly, indirectly, I don't know. But it definitely looks like something else is going on. So there's something else at play here. And as crazy as things may seem right now, I definitely think that there's certain data points and indicators to indicate that something else is going on, and that this perhaps is part of a mass disclosure and exposure of the deep state, in my opinion, just based on just certain things that just don't really add up if you really look at it historically. But if you put it in that context, they do.
That is wild, man. All right, cool. So, how can people, follow your work? You know what you said is very
Yeah.
interesting. They want to keep it. How can they find your stuff?
Well, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Telegram, Twitter, Twitch, and a few others. We have a website. We have two websites, but our main one is newsforus.world, and that's news, the number four, us.world. That's our main website. We also have politicallyincorrectness.com, which is the site that we cover the school board coverage on out here locally and expose that. And then I also have my IT business, but I like to keep the two separate, So we'll just stick to the news for us. And I do. They are linked up kind of together. If you just go and look up Primage Media out of Las Vegas, Nevada. If anybody's looking for IT services, you can find me on the Google business there and reach out to me.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
I have some other plans that I wanted to. So, anyways, wait. Now that people have your information, right? What do they have
Mhm.
to look forward to? You got any hot releases coming out? Any cool stories?
Oh,
What are you
oh
working on?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm working on so much. Okay, so right now, one of the big things I'm working on is the Biden laptop report by Marco Polo's research group. We did a couple introductory episodes that we had you on for that on those, but I hadn't had it. I've been so busy with Christmas and and the holidays and then other stuff I'm doing. Just haven't had time to really finish it, but I'm going to be finishing that. The next part we're going to be going over the business crimes and putting together all the sources and verifying them for everybody so they can have it all in one place to find it very easily and verify for themselves. So we're going to be doing that. As soon as it's like 50, 52, 53 business crimes. It's a lot to go through. And I mean, just the first four alone, there's a lot of content. So like I might have to do it in two parts, but I'm going to do all of them and then we're going to cover it. So I don't know when. Just depends on when I have time to finish it. I want to do a proper job on it so we can people can see it for themselves. Kind of like how I did my launch article.
All right, cool, man. Let me just check the chat right quick, see if anybody's
Oh,
up in
we're
there.
also doing the Twitter files as well. We're covering that as they come out as well.
Oh,
I heard there's two
what are
new.
the
I
Twitter
think there's a new one.
files?
Um, the Twitter files are the release and disclosure of evidence of collusion between the U.S. government, the DoD, the FBI, and several other agencies.
Stephen
Internal Twitter
Phillips.
communications from the previous owners before Elon Musk bought it, and that's being released. And the censorship on Twitter is not really there anymore. It's become a real place for us to really reach normies again. I think, but there, I think Elon Musk has done a phenomenal job of walking that fine line and really calling out these hypocrites that have been censoring people in these three-letter agencies. I mean, have you heard? Did you hear recently about how it's now acknowledged that the CIA killed Kennedy? That's a fact now. That's a known fact. That's huge. That is freaking
That's the
huge.
president of the United States.
Yeah.
That's a
And they
problem.
admitted
Yeah.
to it. They admitted to it in their own documents. And it's funny because I came across that document 6 months ago, and I've been trying to get it out there.
Did they have a
Um,
reason?
I don't know. I have a copy of the document. I'm going to go find it and put it up for you and send you the link because it's important everybody
That
see
is
it.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
That's
it was
yeah.
because I think it was because part of the reason was because he wanted to scatter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. That was one of Kennedy's statements he made at that time, and I think that was a big motivation for them. Yeah, definitely.
Wow. That is.
But I've been telling people that shit for years, and until this year. I mean, it's like, before that they'd call you, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Well, what do you got to say now? How about we call me a conspiracy researcher, or how about a spoiler alert expert?
Yeah.
Because a lot of these so-called conspiracy theories, I come to find out, the CIA invented the term conspiracy theory to smear people that went against what they wanted others to believe. It makes perfect sense if you think about it.
Classic gaslighting. Yeah.
I know exactly.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. All right. Well. All right, man. So that's basically the online access interview. I'll actually stay on with you after the call, but let me just end the. Wow, that was. Is it that fast? No. Okay. Yeah, that's basically the online. Is there anything else for that online access interview? No. Okay. Give me a second. Let me pause
Mhm.
this. Stop the stream.